Okay, morning girls. Today we're going to move on to the higher level production budgeting questions, and for the example I'm going to go through, I'm going to use the 2008 higher level exam paper question 9. Now you may not have that in your papers yourself, but I'll put it in a folder online for you anyway so you can have a look at it later on, but for now you can see it through the video. So, a few things to notice anyway. First of all, let's read down through the start of it here. It says, Roche Limited has recently completed its annual sales forecast to December 2009. It expects to sell two products, Super and Supreme, and it gives the selling prices there. It gives it in a slightly different way to the ordinary level questions used to give it. But that's basically the selling price for a Super, 220, and for a Supreme, 260. So all the same so far, really. Next part, this is the big difference, or first big difference. All stocks are to be reduced by 20% from their opening levels by the end of 2009 and are valued using the first in, first out method. Okay, so you've already seen the first in, first out method when we were doing flexible budgeting. It won't really have an impact on this question, so you can pretty much forget about that for now. The all stocks are to be reduced by 20% from their opening levels, though, is important, and that's the first big difference. If you have a look down through the question here, you'll see that they have stock of finished goods on the 1st of the 1st, on the 1st of January 2009. That means these are the opening stocks because it's at the start of the year for Super and Supreme. So that's opening stock of finished goods. And down a bit further, you have stocks of raw materials on the 1st of the 1st, 2009. That's opening stocks of raw materials, 5,000 and 3,000 kilograms. But they don't give you any closing stock. And we need closing stock, but what we're going to do is when we need to get the closing stock, it says all stocks are to be reduced by 20% from their opening levels. So we'll just take the opening stock and then we'll reduce it down by 20%. And we'll have two ways of going about that. We can either get 80% of it, which is 20% less than 100%. Or we can get 20% of this and subtract it from 600 to reduce it by 20%, whichever you prefer yourself. Okay. So next thing just to note, if we go down to what you're required to prepare, it says A, production budget, B, raw materials, etc. So first of all, just to go back here, you'll notice there's no sales budget, but we'll prepare one anyway because you do need the total sales figure for part D when you get onto it. So we'll just do a sales budget even though they don't require you to do it. There's a production budget, exactly the same as the production budgets we've done at ordinary level. Raw material purchases budget. Now you'll notice they don't say raw material usage budget, but this raw material purchases budget that they ask you to produce, it's going to be a combination of the usage budget and the raw materials purchases budget that you had at ordinary level, just stuck together, if you like. So they are asking you for those two things in one here, because you do need the usage in order to figure out what the purchases are going to be anyway. So really they're asking you for both of those things there. Then parts C and D are new. You haven't come across them before, and we'll move on to them in the next video. But for now, we're just going to do these two parts and a sales budget because we will need that later on, and we're used to starting with a sales budget. So very quickly, let's get started over here. Sales budget. And this can be rough enough as well because, as I say, there's no marks going for it. This is just rough work because you need the sales figure afterwards. But I'm just going to do it out properly anyway. Budgeted sales. Oops, I forgot one thing. I better put it over here. This is going to be Super and Supreme, isn't it? Super, Supreme. No. Okay, so your budgeted sales, it says over here, sales are expected to be 10,000 units of Super, 4,200 units of Supreme. So 10,000, 4,200. Okay, we already said it gives the sales price here of the Super and the Supreme 220 and 260. So I'm just going to write it in before I... 260. Price per unit. Or selling price. Yeah, it's supposed to be more accurate, selling price per unit. Okay, even though, as I say, this is rough work. You're not going to get any marks for any of this stuff. And then multiplying them out, this is going to be, anyway, 200,000. This one, you better give me a bit longer on this. I'm going to say 1,092,000. You might need to double check my figures as you go along. Okay, so that's sales budget. And again, we need the total sales figure for further on down the question. So if we add two of these together, that's 3,292,000, and it's euros, isn't it? Okay, so that's the total sales figure. Next thing, what they asked us to actually do, part A is the production budget. So part A, production budget. And as I say, it's just like a production budget at ordinary level. We're going to have a column for super and a column for supreme. Okay. We're going to start with our budgeted sales. Budgeted sales. Or as I say, sometimes it's required for production, they say as well there. And our budget sales for this was 10,000. And our budget sales here was 4,200. Okay, and then just as it is at the ordinary level, it's going to be plus closing stock minus opening stock. Plus closing stock. Get your answer, minus opening stock. And that'll give you your budgeted production then. Okay, so we can fill in some things straight away. We can say that our opening stock of super and supreme have been given to us. Stocks of finished goods, super 600, supreme 450. Don't worry about what it cost us to come up with that opening stock. 600, and what did I say, 450, wasn't it? 450. Okay, now to get our closing stock here, you don't have to put in these workings. I'm just going to do it for your sake. It's going to be, we're reducing all stocks. Let's just see what they said again. All stocks are to be reduced by 20% from their opening levels. So it's 600, and I'm going to multiply it by 0.8 because that's how you get 80% of something. And if I'm going to reduce it by 20, it's going to be reduced down to 80%. So I'm getting 80% of that. What's that going to be? 124.80, isn't it? Okay, so adding that, that's 10,480, and then subtracting 600 is 9,880. Oh, why did I just write that under there? Sorry about that, folks. Okay, and here again, the 450, I'm just going to put it in here. 450 by 80%, 0.8, okay, or 0.8, is going to give you 45 is 90, so subtract 90 from 450 is 360, isn't it? Okay, or, yeah, okay, 360, and we're adding this, isn't it? So 4,560, and then we're subtracting this, give me 4,110. Okay, so that's our production budget. Okay, I just paused there for a second to do a little bit of extra work to save time in the video. I've started the raw materials purchases budget, which was the second part. But like I said, the raw materials purchases budget for the higher level is just the raw materials usage budget and the raw materials purchases budget joined together. So you can see the start of this is just the raw materials usage budget that you used to do at ordinary level. So in order to do that, we start with whatever the budgeted production for super and supreme was. So for super was 9,880. And we multiply by the number of kilograms of material X it takes to make one super. Okay, so over here, to make one super, you need 7 kgs of material X, okay, by 7. And over here, it's going to be 9,880 multiplied by whatever it takes to make 1 kg of super, however much material Y it takes. So that's 6 kilograms here. So 6. Same goes for here, 4,110 multiplied by, and the figures were 5 and 8 this time. Okay, now I multiplied these while I had paused the video a second ago. The answer to this is, let me have a look, 69160. 60 and 2550. And this one is 59,280 and 32,880. And then if we add the two of these together, 89,710, 710 and 92,160. Okay, so that's your raw materials. It's the usage budget done really, but it forms the top half of the